To answer the title question, no. At least on a grand scale, the Colorado Avalanche are not a bad hockey team. However, in this game, yes, the Avs were a very bad hockey team. Avs lose to the New York Islanders 6-2. If you don't believe me that the Avs aren't a bad hockey team, just look at the stats. Mikko Rantanen is a top 10 goal scorer in the NHL so far this season. Cale Makar is tied for the most points of any defenseman in the league right now. And funnily enough, both of those players were pretty darn bad in this hockey game. The Avs were terrible for the majority of this hockey game. There's no excuses, no reason to say anything otherwise. It's not that complicated of a game. A type of game that happens to every team a handful of times a year, but if that happens when you just went on a big winning streak or you have a good cushion for yourself, you probably don't think too much about it. When it happens to make you start the season 0-3, yeah, you definitely have some issues with it. One of the few silver linings, for the second time in 3 games, the Avs actually start strong and they get themselves a lead. Avs breaking out of their own zone here. It's Miles Wood to carry it through the middle and get it into the zone. His move across the blue line does not really work, but a flubbed clear from the Islanders, and Richie finding a good spot on the ice to create this turnover is what gives the Avs an opportunity. It's even a good little read to get this puck across to Manson. It's a pass to an area for sure, but he recognized a part of the ice where there were no Islanders, so Manson is able to walk over and collect this puck. From there, Richie just kind of gets lost. Wallstrom does not aggressively backcheck, and you have a bad read from the Islanders defenders, both taking the man in front instead of one falling off to cover Richie on the back door. From here, Josh Manson deserves a ton of credit. He's able to get his head up and find Richie. I don't think this is a particularly tough pass as Richie is just so poorly guarded, but it's good recognition. He gets it to him, and Richie gets a tap in for his first ever. Cal Ritchie's first NHL goal, hopefully the first of many coming for him in an Avalanche jersey. It's great to see, if nothing else, to get the kid some confidence, and hopefully he can grow from that. There is very little value I'm taking away from this game for the Avs, but that goal is one thing that's a positive. First 5 minutes of this game were very good for Colorado. They were dominating play, owning possession, and making New York chase them. At one point, they'd racked up a 7-2 shot advantage. Things were feeling good. And then the same problem that's been happening for the first 2 games cropped up. The Avs are going to lose a defensive zone faceoff here. I'm not saying this is why they get scored on, but they wouldn't have got scored on if they won it. So that's a thing. Puck goes out high. It gets thrown in deep. Not a particularly dangerous play, just a safe work with the puck play here. Unfortunately, Manson isn't able to win this battle 1-on-2, but what should be a pretty non-dangerous chance wrapping out from behind the net here does initially get saved. Georgiev makes the first save here, as he should. The problem is he gives up a rebound, and instead of sealing the post for the second save, he just gets caught cheating off the post a little bit, and that leaves enough room for this to go in on him. Look, it's a bad goal. There's no two ways around that for Georgiev. But Georgiev was far from the biggest problem in this game. The problem here, though, is that goal seemed to completely crush any momentum from the Avs in this period. The Avs would only muster 4 more shots on goal for the rest of the period, and New York would completely take over. It's frustrating to see such a good start amount to absolutely nothing. And through the rest of the first period, Georgiev actually played pretty well. But like clockwork, the Avs make a massive mistake. Avs on the breakout late in the first here. This goes up to Manson, and Manson is going to attempt to flip this puck in the air over and into the zone so the Avs can go chase. The problem is he doesn't flip it high enough. He leaves it in grab range, and it's a nice play to bring that puck back down. He even has to jump for it. That's a good play, no doubt about it. The problem is no one is a safety valve here. You can see as this play develops, Manson keeps coasting forward, Girard keeps coasting forward. So when that puck gets picked off, it catches them by surprise, and they are just behind the play. It's as simple as that. For the second time in 2 games, Josh Manson finds himself behind the play. Georgiev goes for a wild poke check play here, and honestly, I think Georgiev gets pretty unlucky here. He reaches out with the poke check and he actually gets this puck. He gets a good chunk of it, but it just kicks back off of the skate right back to the stick, and now Georgiev has no hope from there. It's a tough break. You just can't do that. You can't keep giving up breakaways, especially when you have a goalie that's struggling. And I'm not putting that on Georgiev at all. That's Josh Manson for the second time in 2 games making a massive, poor defensive play. If you're looking for ways to throw periods, the Avs are writing the 101 book on it so far. And when you include the entirety of this game, the Avs have played 9 periods this year. They've won none of them. The second period of this game is basically not worth talking about for Colorado. They played horribly. They only get 5 shots on goal for the entire period, and they basically did nothing right. Even when they made a good play, they were so discombobulated that the follow-up pass would not connect, or someone would simply just have the puck roll away from their stick. It was some of the worst hockey I've seen the Avs play in a while. This is punctuated by some nearly unbelievably bad defensive breakdowns. The Avs battling along their own boards here, and in fact, even initially do almost win the battle, but that puck does not come all the way out of the zone, and that puts the Avs in an awkward defending spot. Realistically, they should be okay here. They have the numbers advantage with 4 guys. I can't draw with this tool, but there's 4 guys to the 3 Islanders in the zone. This really shouldn't be dangerous at all. Mikko nearly intercepts this pass and creates a nothing play, but he's not able to corral the puck, and this causes a bit of awkward gapping, as the Avs forwards have both taken off to the far side of the ice, and Makar hasn't fully recovered yet. So, when Mikko is unable to stay with his man and gets caught fully flat-footed, that leaves Oliver Kylington essentially alone defending. And while I understand in Shillington's head, he knows there's a guy in the corner of the ice here that he's worried about, you have to defend the dangerous area of the ice first and worry about that second. With a man barreling down the middle of the ice, Kylington, instead of stepping up and being aggressive, or at very least taking away the middle part of the ice, he just kind of stays where he is, reaches his stick out, and then, cardinal sin here, as he's reaching his stick, he's going to get dragged and actively move his body out of the way of playing defense. He actively gets out of the way of potentially preventing this play. That is brutal defense, and it ends up in the back of his net. Kylington, his first game in an Avs uniform here, he did not do himself any favors. He played really poorly, in my opinion, and a defensive error like that is a quick way to find yourself back in the press box for someone else. But you know what? A fresh face, maybe he doesn't know the system super well, an egregious error might not be that big of a surprise for a guy like that. When Cale Makar makes an error worse than that, you're just not going to win. For the record, this is one of the worst power plays I've seen from the Avs, and they've had some pretty bad ones. McKinnon getting it up to try and gain the zone. The initial play from Middlestat to Colton does not connect at all. Colton, panicking, fighting for puck possession, just throws this back down the boards. It's not a great play. It's a pretty soft pass, but Makar is still able to collect and control this entirely. I think Makar, probably feeling the pressure of both the 3-1 scoreline and the winding clock on this power play, tries to rush this a little bit, and it's a disaster of a rush. Makar has to know better here. Instead, he turns, he whips it, he throws it right into his opponent's stick, and gives him a clean breakaway. It's not clean. I guess it's partially contested, but still, gives him a break down the most dangerous part of the ice. The Avs are just hanging their goaltender out to dry at this point. Nothing to do or say here. Cale was the one who said this himself in his post-game interview. If he didn't play tonight, the Avs probably would have had a better chance of winning. And he's right. He had a horrible game. And we all know Cale Makar's a great player and will have a great game probably in their next game or a dozen more games this year, whatever. He'll be fine. But that game? Yeah, not good enough. I wanted to talk about this power play specifically because the Avs do get a shorthanded goal scored on them here, but I wanted to talk about Jared Bednar because as with every time the Avs have a struggling period, Jared Bednar's name comes up by certain people in the fan base that want him fired. And you're allowed to think what you want to think, but I don't know what Jared Bednar is supposed to do here. He actively made changes on this power play. Been a very slow second period to this point, and the Avs' best players has not looked good. So 20 seconds into this power play, long before the goal gets scored, Bednar pulls his top guys off the ice and puts his second unit out there because he doesn't like what he's seeing. I don't know how much bigger of a message Jared Bednar can send. This is a guy who regularly plays his top unit for a minute 40 straight of the power play because he relies on them so much. And he actively pulls them off to say, hey, you guys aren't doing enough. I need more out of you. It's It's even more of a statement given that the Avs' second power play unit is a mess with all of the guys that they're missing. You're actively playing a guy like Ivan on that thing. That's how thin it is, and he still made that move to tell the Avs' top players to get it in gear. The Avs then come back over the boards later in that power play and give up that shorthanded goal. Bednar can't play the game for their best players. They need to do better. That more or less sealed this game. It was clear the Avs did not have it in them to muster a real comeback. With that being said, they do score one more goal early in the third period. With time winding down on the power play, the Avs are actually working the puck well on this split PP. They get the puck down to MacKinnon, and MacKinnon is able to work well with Makar back and forth. The Avs do a very good job regularly of lulling teams into a false sense of security by working that umbrella. They're kind of just waiting for something to open up, and when it does, Nathan MacKinnon's able to take advantage. That is not a big lane to thread this needle to Mittelstadt, but MacKinnon does it, and Mittelstadt just has to hit the net, and it's a goal. Couple of things to watch there. One, Nathan MacKinnon has consistently been making that seam pass work so far this year. He's tried it a whole bunch, and it's connecting, both on the power play and off the power play. And number two, that's Casey Mittelstadt finishing that play, not Mikko Rantanen. An interesting look, gives the Avs another potential shooter option if Casey can keep up, well, not like this. He has a goal in every single game. He's not going to score 82, but if he can be a consistent goal-scoring threat, that's just that much more for the Avs on the offensive side. Given the way the Avs were playing, I certainly wasn't a believer in this comeback, but even if you were, the Avs defense quickly shuts that door. Avs with full possession in their own zone, that's a horrible work of the puck from Sam Girard. Just no excuses there. First of all, Makar breaks up the initial play, but as this play continues to develop, Makar is going to get caught here. Duclair is going to slip in behind the net, and Makar is just not going to react as he's looking away, checking the puck. By the time he looks back, it's far too late. His man is gone. This is just a puck thrown towards the crease, and Duclair is the man there to collect it and finish it. Name me an Avalanche player tonight, and I'll show you a player that was not good enough. It's just that simple. Even players who had some positives to take out of this, like a Richie or a Mittelstadt, had some serious errors too. Nothing about this game can sit okay with anyone on the team if they want to get back on track. And look, I think they will get back on track as an empty netter makes this game 6-2. The Avs have given up 20 goals in 3 games. That's over 6.5 goals per game against. I'm sorry, but it's just not sustainable to be that bad. That would make the Avs the most scored on team ever if they were to keep up that pace for 82 games by like 100 goals or something absurd. It just won't remain that bad. What I will say is this. With 3 straight losses, you better believe that the clock has started ticking. 1 loss, all right, that's 1 game. 2 losses, that's bad, but you're not losing streak yet. 3 losses, now you're streaking in the wrong direction. You're not getting ready to blow a hole in this roster just yet, but if it becomes 4, if it becomes 5, then you have to start thinking about it. If it becomes more than that, then you have to really start considering it. The Avs have 2 games left on this homestand, and they have to figure it out in those 2 games. They have to find a way to be able to play a complete hockey game. If they go out there in those games, play well, and a better team beats them, so be it. But they cannot keep beating themselves the way they have been. Is part of that solution playing Capo Kakinen in goal? Probably, but it also requires your best players to be better. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. I am Rudo, and this is not a fun way to start a season.